Hey, hi beautiful people, welcome back. So thank you for stopping by. Welcome back, I really appreciate it. Let's open this with a cameo of me doing one of the things that I really like doing, plants. What I'm doing today, I'm just repotting some plants. So that's what this is all about. Whoa, new roots, look at that baby. Finally growing. Totally should think this is water. Yeah, it's almost winter, and so some of them just need to, go into better situation. Just change their pots, and some of them are root bound, and so I had to just move things around. Don't they look pretty? Really nice. Relaxing activity as well, just doing old people stuff. Since I don't have a garden here. See, the older I get, the more the more I begin to see, my parents, or it might be my dad sometimes, or when I do some things. Sometimes it might be my mom. I'm like, I'm getting old. Like, this is old people stuff that I'm doing, and I'm actually enjoying this stuff. I remember when I would see my mom, planting things. She always had a garden, or at least since when we moved to a place where she could have a garden, she always had a garden, and she was always trying to plant something or trying to grow something, and just as a child it would be interesting. It used to be interesting and fascinating to watch, but I didn't really get involved a lot. But of course, apart from when she had tomatoes, for example, we would go around and pick. When the tomatoes got ripened, we would help to harvest, and do some other stuff, maybe help bring chicken droppings into the garden to just what's it called, fertilize and stuff. Yeah, would help around and things like that. But now then those things didn't freak me. I just watched, just kind of disconnected and disinterested. But now when I see myself developing some interests over time, I realize, whoa, you're becoming your parent. You're becoming your mom, or you're becoming your dad, or stuff like that. Another thing, I remember when I was young, and my mom would have chickens. She would raise chickens and everything. I used to be so frustrated because chicken droppings are the worst. But I used to hate it so much, and now I'm at the point where I know that if I have space, if I had the space, I would so enjoy doing that. I would enjoy raising chickens and having stuff. It's just fascinating the older you get to just realize that, oh my goodness, I am becoming my parent. I'm growing older. Anyways, so that's just something interesting to open with. I enjoyed doing that last night, and then this morning I'm recording this. So today I want to talk about moving abroad and my personal experience with this. I am so blessed. I do not take for granted the blessing of being able to move here for school and all the things that I have been blessed with so far. So this is by no means a complaining video or anything. They're just kind of things that some people might find funny, that I've personally found funny. So even though the title of this says something about struggling, I don't really view these things I'm going to talk about in the light of I'm struggling, it's terrible. It's just things that I didn't think about before I moved, and the more time I spend here, the more glaring those things become. Like I already said, I need to emphasize this because I don't want this to come across almost oh, these things are so bad here. That's not true at all. At least for me, my personal experience, that's not true. I am so thankful that I got the opportunity that I got, and I have enjoyed living here so far, and I hope to enjoy it for as long as I am here. But when I first got here, one of the things that I struggled with at the beginning, I still struggle with actually, is something I think I will call money guilt. What does that mean? So you know how we Nigerians generally just generally do a conversion, a dollar naira conversion, where we buy things. Fam, I had to tell people, I had to tell myself as well, that don't do that to yourself. But seriously, over and over again, when you're maybe I'm trying to buy something, right? And it's something like random or something not that big of a deal, and then I calculate like, this thing is so 1,000 naira in, you know, Nigerian money. I'm like, there is no way. I'm not spending that amount of money on this thing, especially when it's not a need, when it's more like a want. I just want this thing. I begin to calculate like, what can this money do back at home? Like, what can this money do if I give this like money or this amount of money to someone, right? And fam, that used to, or even still gives me, I wouldn't call it guilt, but it's just, it's a weird feeling, right? When maybe you want to make your hair and then you're quoted like $200. And then you're like, okay, so this $200, if let's use current what's it called, current exchange rate now, let me say that's like, how much is that? Is that like 200K? I'm like, if I send this money to my younger, like, you know, a younger cousin or something like that, this money will do something about his life. And I want to use this money, I'm going to spend this money doing what? I mean, it's a real thing. It's a real thing that seriously, there are several things that I would refuse to do just because of that. Like, maybe I want to buy lunch, takeout, right? Maybe for some reason I didn't cook and I didn't bring lunch to work or to school. And then I'm like, okay, I'm just going to, like, you know, order online or something. And then my brain just kind of automatically does the conversion. And I'm like, no, let's go and eat at home. Let's go home to eat, that kind of thing. So that's one thing that I didn't like anticipate. I've maybe heard stories of people, you know, joking about it, like if you convert how much this money is into naira, into like, it's a lot, and it just kind of makes you feel somehow, I don't know, just feel somehow about spending. And like I said already, especially if it's something that is not even a need, right? If it's something that you can do without, you begin to just double guess yourself and wonder, like, do I really need to have this thing, or do I really need to buy this thing? And that's talking from the perspective of someone who is already a minimalist. Personally, I consider myself a very, like, my friends would tell you, I don't buy unnecessary things. I'm very frugal in that sense. But of course, even the most frugal person still has some things that are like, you know, just want this thing. It's not like if you don't have this thing, you can't survive. You're just like, this is nice, I like this, maybe something decorative or stuff like that, and you're about to buy that, and then you begin to calculate and begin to say like, oh, you, like, it just kind of messes with your head. So that's one thing that I didn't anticipate. That's struggle. Remember, struggle in air quotes, struggle in apostrophe. Struggle number one. Another thing that I would say that I have struggled with is just a sense of disconnection from family, friends, and back home. This is different from missing people, right? It's more like, you know, for example, when my twin sister had her second baby, I was there for the first baby, and so like I knew what I was missing, right? Because I was there when they had the first baby. I did all the things. I stayed with her for like a month or over a month. Like, I saw the child growing, and it was such a beautiful experience. So when she had a second baby and I wasn't there, I knew what I was missing. It's just that sense of like, I'm missing important parts of my life because these people are part of me, like they're important to me, and just the knowledge that I'm disconnected from this reality. And I try to like stay in touch as much as possible, like anything I can, join online, stuff like that. But there is still no way that if you're not there in person, if you're not there like with them, there's no way you can feel the fullness of the emotions. There's no way you can participate to that extent when you're not there. So I can't, you know, I left home. I always say that I left home early because once I left for university at like 16, 17, I guess, I didn't really, I I didn't really come back home to stay like that. And I think that's the case for most of us. Once we leave, you just come home and visit once in a while. Even my long holidays, I didn't really come back home to stay, because like, you know, I was engaged on campus. So I mean, I had stuff I was doing on campus, so I would come back home just very briefly. Many of the holidays I wouldn't really come home. So, and after college, after university, I went on to service, and then from there I moved to Lagos. And so I felt like I had left home for a while, but there is still that sense when you're like within the country, you feel like if anything comes, if anything happens, like the worst thing, I'm just gonna go home the next day and go see what's going on, right? And go be a part of whatever is going on. But when you're across the waters, over the seas, you just feel that sense of like, I just cannot, you know, wake up tomorrow and just go home. When my twin sister was having her baby, the second baby, I was on the phone a lot, like with them. I was following what was going on. I was like just praying and doing all the things that I could do, but still nothing can like replace that sense of being there, of like being a part of what's happening, of seeing everything and being a part of the celebration. That sense of disconnection, I knew kind of to expect that. I knew like that's normal, right? I wasn't being naive about the fact that I'm moving away, but when important things happen, you just feel that sense more keenly, right? I'm just grateful that I was able to see like the biggest things. I was able to you know, participate in the biggest things for my siblings so far. Their weddings, babies coming, at least one time, but it is what it is. It's still part of the reality of just being caught up, especially when it now feels like you're the only one away, right? And then sometimes everyone comes together, they go home, and then everyone is there, and I joke with them, I'm like, you've forgotten there's one, like there's not just those people, there's like one more person over here in this other part of the world, and I'm still part of you, kind of like just keep me in the loop, stuff like that. But like I said, it is what it is. Another thing that I did not fully anticipate is food. Food, people. I am not a foodie. Like, I am not like so, I've never been so big on like food, I love food or stuff like that. Not really, never. In fact, when I was growing up, I was very, very picky. Like, I was very picky. I don't know, my parents would tell you like, to get me to, you know, to get me to actually eat was a struggle until I became an adult. And then, you know, when you become responsible for your own like eating and health and everything, you get sense very quickly. So yeah, I just was a normal eater, right? Nothing, no big deal. Men and brethren, when I moved away from home, the things that I felt like, you know, were not really food that would freak me started freaking me. Like the way I would be craving something like eba that back at home I don't even like. Right now I was Gary, like I'll be so thrilled just because you know that thing that they say about scarcity just making something more valuable. So true. And so just being here, not having full access to the kinds of food that you grew up eating is interesting, to say the least. Very interesting. And yes, I was picky. I was a picky child when I was growing up, right? But after I became an adult, I literally ate anything and everything. Like I ate everything from different cultures, different kinds of soup. I didn't mind. I had a very extensive palate. I developed a very extensive palate, so everything goes. I could eat anything, right? So yes, that still helped me here. Like I can eat any type of food if it's healthy. That's the only thing. I like healthy food, and I need my food to not like be just junk food and like really bad things. Of course, sometimes, you know, you will indulge, but generally, basically, I eat well. So it's not that I'm not finding things to eat. I have access to good food, right? But it's the fact that I didn't realize how much I would miss the food that I grew up eating. And now when I see someone like, you know, on their status, it's like really like something that I've not eaten for a long time. Maybe something as simple as like bread and, you know, agege bread. And I don't know, something I like, what would I not give to get that right now? So yeah, that's just one thing, one other thing. And like I said, I'm going to do this disclaimer throughout this video. This is not a complaining video. It's just something interesting, and that might also be funny, that I found funny. Another thing is friendships. I've never been one with, like, you know, so many friends. I always tell my friends, I always tell people that friends for me are like family. And so I have a really small circle. A few people might not believe me when I say this, but I am also introverted, right? I'm not an extrovert in that sense. I can be an extrovert when I have to be. So I'm more of like very adaptable, right, in that sense. But I've never had so many friends. I have a lot of acquaintances, people that are like, yes, you know, friendly, people I'm friendly with, but people that I'm friendly with, but when it comes to like actual like friends, family, you know your people, I've never had a lot of that. I'm just very, very selective, stuff like that. And so moving your entire life from one culture, from one country to another, means like you're literally leaving your tribe behind, you're leaving your family behind, you're leaving your friends behind. And as much as, you know, we all try to stay in touch, we all try to remain connected, there's just something that happens to your relationships when you have to move away, even if it's within the same country. When you have to move away a little bit from people, there's just a little bit of a disconnect. And I'm still very grateful for the people that I have as friends, because I know that everyone that I can call friend at this point, if I ever need to connect, if I ever like, yeah, life may not allow it, right? We might have a lot of, like, you know, everyone is busy and there's not a lot of time to hang out, but the once in a while that we come together and actually talk, it's just as if nobody left, right? It's just as if that thing is still there. I feel like it's possible for the connection and the love to be unconditional, to be constant, even if it's not as frequent as it used to be. And but that's still a loss, right? The fact that you cannot just, you know, maybe your friends are having really big milestones, that people are getting married, people are having babies, people just need their friends. You can't just go and be there for your friend, that kind of thing, and they can't do the same for you. So there's just that thing, that disconnect as well. And I do well on my own. I'm very, like I said, I'm very introverted. I know how to keep my own company and all the things, and I'm able to, like, you know, find things of interest that can distract me if I ever begin to feel lonely-ish, right? But still, I think on an intellectual level, I just acknowledge, I can acknowledge the fact that I am losing out on some depth of the possibility of some depth of relationship, of connection, of just being there for people, of people being able to be there for me in the deepest sense possible. One of my, I would say a childhood friend got married this weekend, and if I were at home, that's a wedding that I would have loved to attend. TJ, I don't know if you will see this video. Happy married life to you and your bride. He's amazing with you know, just staying connected to people and just cheering people on and all of that. I always tell him that I really envy your grace and everything, but he's someone that, even regardless of how long you've not been in contact, once you get back in contact, you just flow, and he really cares about people. So that's someone that I would have loved to be at his wedding or stuff like that. These are just those small things that you just miss out on when you don't have, like, when you're just not there, when you've moved away from your life, you've moved away from roots and things like that. And maybe I wouldn't say that I did not anticipate this, but I'm just being reflective today and just acknowledging that, yes, that's something that I just can't do anything about. And it's not just the existing friendships, right? It's also the potential for other friendships. If you make friends here, these people don't know you from, like, before. You don't have history. You have to, like, build history with them from scratch and all of that. And it's just something that is worth acknowledging. Not just the current relationship, the fact that you're like literally building relationships from scratch. And they say this all the time, and it's very true. The older you get, the harder it is to make friends and to, you know, establish relationships. You're just not even gingered. You're just not even motivated to, like, you know, start building friendships with new people. Of course, we should still do that, and I still try, but I just don't have the intrinsic motivation, and it doesn't come as easy as when you were like very young and, you know, meet people in places like college, university, work, things like that. So the last one that I'll talk about, because I don't want this video to be too long, is love. I want to be very careful about how I talk about this, but I think it's something that is really important to acknowledge as well. The fact that when you move away from what you have known all of your life, your pool changes. And I say your pool of potential, maybe partners or things like that just changes, and it just complicates life, right? I know for some people, they moved away from you know, pre-existing relationships, and some people try to make it work, and if you're trying to make it work, it is just complicates your life. Like, it's so complicated. Long distance relationship is so complicated. I'm not talking specifically about my own situation right now. I'm just talking about in general, about the reality of love life when you move away from where you've always known. And apart from if you even have an existing relationship, just moving away just makes it such that you have to literally relearn your environment to know what your options are, to know what you're interested in, to know what like you want to do and what you can't do. And of course, as a Christian, you're not living your life to chance. Like, of course, you're still praying, and there is nothing that God cannot do. Of course, God is still the one who makes relationships happen and who brings people together and get people to meet people. And nothing is impossible for God. But to be realistic, you understand that you're not really around your people in that sense, and so you're a lot more careful. You're a lot more guarded in that sense, and you don't know what is what. There's just a feeling of a feeling of freedom that you have back at home, when you have everyone surrounding you, have your family around you, you have friends around you, and the people that the potential suitors or the potential whatever mates that you have around you, they're people that you're familiar with. You know what to expect, right? But then you move to a different country, and it's like a fish out of water when it comes to thinking about being with someone, or when it comes to thinking about, like, you know, establishing a relationship and preserving that relationship and just making things work. It is so different. It is so different than at home. For some of us, they're like established you know, structures at home for how to pursue a relationship and how to establish one, and what to do with one. But then I'm in a different place where there's just a different anything goes here. And it's just hard. It's hard. And yes, our things are not always bad things, but it's hard, it's different, and it deserves to be acknowledged. In this place, for example, the approach to love, the approach to dating, the approach to relationships is just totally different, both within the church and outside the church. And especially even depending on where you go for church, things are just totally different. At least for me, in my own experience, things are just different, and you have to like learn to navigate a different environment, learn to navigate being around people who probably think totally different from you, who approach the world totally different from you. And I'm not complaining about that. I love variety. I love just the potential to experience different kinds of realities and possibilities, and just grow your world and grow your horizon, and just have everything, you know. I love that. It stretches me. I love challenges. So this, like I said, this is not a complaining thing. This is basically just, you know, talking about and reflecting on the differences and things that some people, and myself personally, have struggled with after moving away from home. Things that we probably didn't think about like very deeply before we had to move, or things that I just was not even in my frame of reference when I was moving like I'm not like, this is not what I'm fully concerned about right now. But then you move to a different place and then it becomes really highlighted, right? It just comes to the top of the mind for you, and you're like, whoa, things are different here, or whoa, like I didn't expect this, or this is really interesting. So that's the angle from which I'm talking about this, and that's the angle from which I'm considering this today. But so far so good. God has been so faithful, has been so gracious and merciful in personally helping me in directing my path and just ordering my steps. So I cannot end this without, you know, just testifying, praise Jesus, without testifying about how good God has been for me, and how He has helped me, like, you know, just navigate life in a different place, with new people and different ways of doing things, and it's been a blessing for me personally. I do not have anything to complain about, and so I'm very thankful. I always say this: I don't know how people without Jesus are doing it, because I couldn't. Fam, I don't know. I can't even think about it. But God has been really merciful, so I'm really thankful for that. So there you have it. That's my little brief overview of my experience in my sit down with the camera session. I should call this sit down with the camera sessions. That's a nice name. In my sit down with the camera session today, I'm beginning to enjoy, like I always say this all the time, I'm beginning to enjoy this more and more. But I'm interested in other people's insights. If there's something that, like, just kind of not shocked, maybe just something different that you feel like is worth mentioning, say something in the comments, or just, you know, text me. Most of you have my number anyways, and it's just interesting to hear other people's opinions and other people's experiences, because mine has been interesting. Thank you so much for stopping by again today. I appreciate it. Thank you for subscribing, for those that have subscribed. If this is your first time seeing me come across your I probably should have said this at the beginning. That's how people do it, right? You're supposed to say this stuff at the beginning. Anyways, if you stuck around this long and this is your first time, I would love if you would subscribe if it's something that interests you. Really thankful for your presence, and I'll see you in the next one. Thank you so much. Bye.